Welcome to Paranormal Nightshift, your home for all things that go bump in the dark and your fan stories told here. Growing up, we all heard fairy tales, and the Grimm Brothers fairy tales are based on things that are far more tragic than the stories that we heard. But we hadn't heard modern-day fairy tales, encounters with real-life witches. Today's story speaks on that. What if a fairy tale became your reality? The sender of today's story has asked to stay anonymous. She says she still doesn't feel safe talking about what she saw. But for the story, we're going to call her Sarah. My parents were furious when I moved into the city, but it was the only way to find good work. I had just graduated college, and I took a great job as a paralegal. My mom and dad didn't like it because most of the time that job had me working long hours, and it had me going home. It was only a couple blocks away, but yes, sometimes I would be going home late at night by myself. It was about 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night. I was walking home alone, and as usual, I lived in a kind of small, quiet neighborhood. I never felt unsafe or anything like that, but tonight, something just felt different. As I started walking home, I started hearing these footsteps behind me. I turned around, but there was nobody there. I got a little frightened. I started walking faster, but the footsteps, they kept pace with me. No matter how fast I walked, the footsteps felt like they were right behind me. I took the long way home, and I turned down the side street, hoping that maybe I'd just lose the footsteps, but they followed me. Now I was running, but it didn't matter. The footsteps, they were getting closer and closer. I finally reached my apartment building, and I ran inside. I slammed the door shut behind me, and I locked it. But it was to no use. I kept hearing the footsteps all the way down the hall. All the way down the hall to my apartment, I continued to hear these footsteps behind me. I made it into my apartment, and I locked the door. My dad was insistent that I had 3 locks, the big bolt, but I continued to hear the footsteps pacing behind the door, walking up and down the hallway right in front of my house. Strange odor started to fill the air. It smelled like sulfur. It smelled like death. And the footsteps, they were louder and louder outside of my door. Then my doorknob started to jiggle. Something was trying to get in. "Get out! Go away," I said. But it didn't matter. It was pushing against the door, banging against the door. That's all I could hear, and all I could smell was so overwhelmingly scent of sulfur. Never felt so trapped in a place that felt so safe. The smell was overwhelming, and the door just kept shaking. Finally, whatever was behind the door had broken through. It pushed me back with such a power. It had popped all the locks that were supposed to keep me safe. Then, right there's this figure standing in my doorway, so tall, so wide, it is blocking out the light, and the smell is overwhelming now. This dark figure is standing in my doorway, overwhelmingly strong sense of sulfur. The thing is tall and lanky, but wide at the same time, with dark, glowing yellow eyes. And all I can think of is the smell. It smelt like death. It smelt like decay. It smelt like rot. The figure doesn't move. It's just standing there. I scream, but that seems to awaken whatever this is. Now it's going into my apartment. I struggle. I get up. I run into my room, throwing things off of the cabinets, throwing whatever I can at the creature, but it doesn't stop. This entity is in there, slowly, methodically moving towards me. I keep a can of pepper spray next to my bed, just because my father has always told me to. I grab it and wait for it to open my room, but it never does. The creature's just there. This figure is just in my apartment. I can hear it in my apartment. I grab my phone and I call the police and tell them that somebody is in my apartment. It took 5 minutes for them to get there. It was the quickest response that I could have ever imagined, but they enter the apartment and no one's there. The knock at the door is from the police department. The knock on my bedroom door is someone identifying themselves as a police officer. I'm on the phone with dispatch, who tells me the police are there. That's how I identify it. I know that the police are in my apartment now and that I am safe. I open it. I open the door, and there it is. Just a policeman, just talking to me, telling me that clearly there had been a break-in, and now they wanted to do paperwork. They wanted information. Nothing was taken. The house itself wasn't in any disarray other than what I had thrown around. I tried to explain what I saw. No one believed me. No one believed me at all. I called my parents, and they came and stayed with me that night. But I'll never forget my father. He smelt it as well. Just this overwhelming smell of sulfur. I've not had any more experiences. I leave when other people leave, and I walk with somebody home. I've got more locks on my door now, and I'm trying to move back in with my parents. I just have to find a way to financially do that. I don't know what I encountered. It's the thing of nightmares. It haunts my dreams. Sometimes these fairy tales that we were told as kids, are they reality?